Hi, guys. Welcome back to another Life with Lenoci podcast. It's me, the one and only Michael Lenoci. I do this by myself. There's no one here with me. It's a solo podcast. These are very difficult to do. Sure, there's a producer to bounce off of, but really, what is he about? You know what I mean? It's not about him. Sometimes he'll make it about him, and then we get, oh no. We get oh no's. We get oh no's from the audience and from myself. Now, I'm not saying that to make him feel worse about himself. Nobody's ever said that. I made it up. I'm just kind of going off of a riff, but I just want you to know a bit of a good mood here. A bit of a good mood. I'll tell you why. Maybe the gym 9 out of the last 10 days, dropped 8 pounds in the last 2 weeks. Not doing a lot of bread, not doing a lot of sugar, feeling positive, feeling good. Want you guys to feel that way too. You know what? If one person was like, hey, guess what? I got my life on track because of this podcast, then that's enough for me to continue to keep going. And I'm not saying I wasn't going to keep going, but who knows? I've had 5, 6, 7, 8 podcasts in the past 8 years. So you never know. I could switch it up again. Not going to switch it up. Like we said, this is the last and final version of what we're doing. And this is a big episode because I am going to be vulnerable and I'm going to speak the truth. And I am doing something for the first time that I have always wanted to do. I've wanted to do this for a while, but I just never wanted to do it, but I've wanted to do it, if that makes sense. And I have my first therapy session Friday morning. So yes, and I feel good, and that's where the maze. God, don't get angry because that's why we're gonna go to therapy. I will have the music fade out right there. And welcome to the episode, guys, and thank you guys for watching. It's been good, and everything I said was real life. That's real life, and I know that that's going to have a lot of questions behind it from Mark, because he's probably never done that before. He's probably never. Mark, have you ever done therapy?
Yeah.
Damn. So I'm the lone guy who's never done it.
Oh, just wait till you do couples therapy.
No. I don't need to do couples therapy because
You will.
Well, you know what? If I do, then that means the relationship is successful and we didn't break up. So that's a positive because, there's times, this is the longest relationship of my life. I will be honest about that. Not that you would ever lie about that. That's a weird thing to say. I'd be honest about that. But this is the longest relationship I've ever been. And there is up and downs because, after 6 months, goodbye to that little fairy tale love that you thought would be for the rest of your life. And everybody always tells you this, right? Don't they always tell you it's the honeymoon stage, right? And then you got to learn about each other. You got to learn about each other's demons. You got to learn about each other's problems, which is demons, which we talked about last week. And you got to understand every emotion. This is what I learned this week. I learned that as a man in a relationship, and this isn't sexist, I am there to protect the woman. And that's not from violence or from crime. Emotionally, I am there to protect a woman. Do you know what I mean when I say that, Mark? I just learned about that this week. And I am speaking slowly so that my thoughts can come together before the words come out. Are you laughing hard? Because I need to understand this. I need to get better at how I say things. I need to get better. What?
we had this discussion like 3 weeks ago with the text.
Yes, but that was different.
Wait, can I just want to start with what prompted you? Was it you saying I need to be better, or was it someone else saying
it was a couple
you
people.
need to be better?
It was a mini intervention.
You had an intervention?
No, I didn't have an intervention. All right, here's the deal. Sometimes I'm bad at communicating.
Can I make a guess? Pretty please. Was it the Thanksgiving cruise text? Was it your family going, what is his deal?
No. No. This is Haley.
Oh.
Haley thinks I'm sorry. Let me rephrase this. I have an anger problem. And I've always had an anger problem. This goes back to high school. I was in fights in high school, and it was retaliation fights where I would get angry. And we talked about this last week. I had some spite. I was angry at people for the way they reacted to other comedians, not just personal comedians, just in general. I feel like there's a flakiness to the LA scene, okay? And there's anger behind that. And it shouldn't bother me because I should just focus on my own stuff. But going back to even high school, I would get mad at people and never to the point where I'd want to physically assault them, but I would get in fights because I would talk shit. I'm really good at talking shit. I can get under someone's skin. I can make anyone hit me. Oh, I can make the calmest person lose their temper. I know how to get under your skin.
I feel like you've hit me with maybe 2 that I was like,
no. You're applauding it as in a joking way.
Yeah.
If we were angry at each other, I could say some of the most hurtful things and get you so angry that even if you're not someone who's violent, you'll think about being violent towards me. I've had people attack me and go, I've never been that angry before. I've never done that in my life. I've had someone say that to me at least 3 times. So that's my fault because I'm angry and I can say very hurtful things to people because I know, even knowing you, I know you a couple years. I don't know you that well, but I kind of know you, but I know enough about you to where if we were in a fight, I could say something deep that you would go, oh, that's messed up. Because I have enough information where the wheels start spinning and I go,
can you hit me with one?
No, because that's awful and it's mean.
I'm thicker skinned than you think.
Bro, like if we were arguing and I'd be like, like I could be like, that's why you're messed up because, dude, you don't have a good relationship with your father and your mom didn't even care about your birthdays. You know what I mean? Like something like, no, but it's like, that's not what I would say. I don't know what I would say. It would be just off the top.
Exactly. I don't think you could.
Oh, you know what? You're in a good mood and we're having fun right now. But that's the difference. If you were in a mood where you were like agitated, then something like that could affect you. It's not going to affect you right now because we know it's all playing games, joking around. But anyways, with Haley's sake, I've snapped a couple times and yelled or been frustrated, like any couples do. You get frustrated. And let me ask you, have you ever snapped and been like, just shut up? Have you ever said shut up or back off or something like that to your wife?
I've never said shut up.
Okay.
No, I've never said shut up. But it will be something along the lines of like, hey, I need a moment.
Well, that's very mature.
This is overwhelming or you have crossed a line.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a very mature and someone who's in control of their emotions way of reacting. Where I've said mean things. And I know it's not right. And it could go back to my childhood, where I grew up in an Italian household where a dad's yelling a lot. I've seen him, and listen, here's another problem. I called my mom today and I talked to her and I told her about the therapy and I didn't get the reaction I was hoping for because then I was starting to talk about like deeper issues about like even someone who had a great upbringing. They all have trauma too. Everybody has trauma no matter what. Even if we have kids, our kids will have trauma. Something will, it doesn't mean they didn't have a good life, but it's impossible to have it perfect. There will be something we did wrong. Nobody's a perfect parent. Even a perfect parent that would be flawed because you're too perfect, right? So that being said, we were talking and I was like, growing up in a culture in the 80s and 90s, we grew up with yelling in the house and that could be something that I've normalized and I brought into this world. And she didn't like the way I was saying that because, my mom's been sick too. And she goes and she's like, I don't need to hear stuff like this. I'm sick and all this. And then I was like, well, now you're making me feel bad for trying to open up to you in a safe place. This is really what I said. I was like, I felt like this was a safe place for me to talk about this. And I thought you've always said that I should go to therapy. And I thought that this would be cool if we could kind of talk about this. And she goes, yeah, but you're being negative about it, saying like you and your sister have argued and saying that she should go to therapy too. Listen, Yes, I shouldn't have said that, but all of a sudden I'm in this place with my mom where I take a step back, I apologize, but it was like, it made me feel horrible. And then I was like, you're making me feel bad because I thought this was a place to talk. She goes, no one else can make you feel bad but yourself. And I got to say, my mom does this about everything. You tell your mom, my mom, if I tell her any of my feelings, she goes, well, only you can do that. Well, Mom, there's things that happen in this world. Like, that's okay. If I see a video of a puppy get killed and I feel sad, oh, only you could get sad. That you're the one who's sad. Yeah, Mom, it's a video that's sad. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically her defense with everything. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but I'm just saying I'm venting right now. And going back to where we were, get me back online. So I going back to like childhood stuff, and I'm like, listen, I had a great life, but I just was bringing up the fact of like how, growing up in a household with a dad who, my dad's a great dad. He's been there for me. He's done great things, but he yelled a lot, and that's an Italian father. So I yell a lot because I normalize it and I talk down to people, and maybe I've never done it with you, but I've done it in ways where, it makes people feel smaller, or I make them feel like they're not important. I've had that note in my life. Like, you're really good at bringing someone in and making them feel special, but then at the same time, making them feel so unimportant. And that could be mental abuse towards someone if you're in a relationship with them. So, I hope that so far this episode, when Haley watches it, I hope I get brownie points for this. And I don't want to, now that I'm saying that out loud, listen, I just stream of consciences. I just kind of, whatever, it's hard to say that word. I speak my mind and I'm very honest, but now I don't want anyone to think that, who's listening to this, to think like, well, you're just saying that to get brownie points. Does that make sense? No, not at all.
You don't want to be performative.
I'm not. I'm just being honest. I mean, it is a podcast too. I want content. I think that this is important because people, sometimes can't talk about this. And this is my safe place. I feel, wow, I really needed to talk about that mom thing today. I didn't even call Haley. I was going to call Haley and be like, hey, I had kind of a rough conversation with my mom today, but I held it inside and I worked out. And now that I'm getting it out on the podcast, it's like, do I even need therapy? This is my therapist. My therapist is a camera. So, sure. Friday will be the first session, and I'm actually excited. I think it's cool. Like, I think it's a cool swag to have as a comedian. Like, oh, I also go to therapy, and they're like, whoa, why? You seem perfect. Well, I think so too, but we're going to confirm it with the therapist. I think don't need one. I think that I'm going to go in a few sessions with the therapist, and she's like, you have a great understanding of how you were raised, what your situations are. You understand what annoys you, and you understand that sometimes you overreact to those things, but that you could react differently. So if I understand that, then I just got to practice reacting to things that bother me. But there's no way you can get rid of things that bother you. Isn't that always there forever? So how are you going to fix me, Doc? That was a fun little run. Oh, I just want to give a shout out to Rachel Stroud. She DM'd me and she asked for a shout out on the podcast because she's had a bad week or something. So, Rachel, I hope me being honest and upfront about my situation makes you feel better and you could relate to it because, again, I want to read a comment on one of the posts I put today on the podcast episode from last week. I put demons, right? And I go, everyone is struggling with something, right? That little riff, random comment. Cause sometimes the podcast account gets random people seeing it. And basically, let me bring back the riff from last week. Everyone's struggling with something. And I just cut a clip and I go, any personal situation, not even people close to us. I don't even know yours. I'm really actually just, everyone's dealing with something is what I'm saying in that clip. Everyone's dealing with something. We don't even know what's going on. We don't know what people's real situations are. You never know their struggles or the demons. Remember that? So there was a random comment. I didn't even really fully read it, but it goes, how about let's stop playing the victim and encouraging people to play the victim? And if the people in your life are only extras or bit players, then maybe you need to rethink your perspective because you're doing it wrong. Everybody at this point in this country is traumatized. How about healing and encouraging others to do the same? I like how you roll your eyes. Again, and in this clip, I'm talking about how, everybody perceives people as extras in their life, and that is a reality. We all are in our own worlds, and everybody's an extra in our world. You know what I mean? It is to a point. Like, you think about your life as a whole. Like, I'm working as a producer. I have a wife. I have feelings. I have mom and dad. And then I have these comedians, and they're in my life. That it's just, there's nothing wrong with thinking that way. That's the natural way to think. Now some people have a superpower.
Well, I feel like there's tiers here.
Sure.
Where there's supporting characters, like my wife is a supporting character in this role.
Sure.
But there are those who are like, everybody's an extra.
Sure. And then there's also people who are really good, which is the superpower of being like, I'm very actually concerned about everyone around me, and I want to be that caring person. And that could be because of trauma.
Oh, no, 100%. And then those people are probably the most damaged internally because they don't provide anything for themselves.
Maybe, yeah. Who are we? I don't know.
Oh, no, I come from experience of that, where I used to do that, and I had to start focusing on me. You
got a whole ball of problems, buddy. So
I'm just trying to give you more ammunition. I'm waiting for the curveball.
Thinking, but this lady, not knowing, this clip is just randomly on her feed. Doesn't know who I am, probably. Doesn't know.
Is she a subscriber?
No, this is on Instagram. And I could tell that she doesn't follow the account. So it was just in the random explore reel thing, right? And then she comments that. But that clip, it has the music. All the clips have the music in the background. I'm zooming in on the clip. I have it zooming in onto my eyes. It's just kind of a comedic. It's just, to me, I want to present the fact that, listen, on this podcast, we're going to talk about serious stuff. I'm going to talk about open stuff. I'm going to talk about our feelings. We'll go back and forth. Maybe one day it'll be about you and I'm being the therapist. But to me, I think it's also silly to put the music on and then make it like, that's my humor. The fact that this lady got worked up by this hit something with her. And I really enjoyed that today. It's funny. I enjoy comment on the podcast, Instagram, negative, positive. I enjoy it all. And, I really do. But if it's on my personal Instagram and it's like about my stand-up or something, I've gotten better. I'm getting very good at it. Like today, someone commented something, "You're not good at your job," so I just deleted it. But I was just like, but then I wanted to be like, "Why are you so mad?" But I'm like, who cares? He's got his own issues that I could, dig into him. But clearly it was something, because here I am commenting, and I posted last week about how we have to have thick skin. And we do, and it's definitely hard. So that's going back to Rachel Stroud. I hope that makes you feel better hearing this. So now that there's a little lull, what do you think about the fact that I'm gonna do therapy? Pretty cool, huh?
No, I like it. I like it. I'm interested to see the introspective that you come out of it, because she's gonna ask you difficult. She or whatever. She is gonna ask you some questions, and it's gonna make you go, "Huh."
What do you mean? You think so? I can even come up with the questions, like what, and then I'll be like, I'll answer them.
Oh no, absolutely. You might be expecting these softballs, but there's going to be a moment where they're going to give you something, a tool or perspective. And I would love to see when there's going to be an epiphany. You're going to have an epiphany.
How long did you do therapy?
I did it a lot as a young kid. I was an angry kid, but then I did some maybe like 9 years ago.
Here and there?
Yeah, for like 2 months. Just to recalibrate. I was working with some terrible people and I needed to.
Huh. And you feel like it's always helped you? Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's provided me the tools to help, recognize that there's a problem and then find the mechanisms that I use to dig myself out of, depression or a cycle.
Yeah. I'm excited too because, it will be on Fridays or whatever, every Friday. I mean, that's the first one. I don't know if I'll be able to do every Friday, whatever. And then
During the daytime, of course.
it's Friday at 10:45. Yeah.
Oh, in the morning.
Yeah.
So you're
So
gonna be able to get up for that?
well, yeah, it's a job. It's part of my, I have to
I thought you wake up at the crack of noon.
sometimes. But I've been on a good before 11 schedule this week, and I finished Ozark too. But last night was rough because I went on a binge to finish Ozark, and now but I still woke up early to get things done. I'm all caught up. I'm ahead with everything. Now I just need to bring in income. So that being said, guys. We got to get to 10 Patreon subscribers so Mark and me could start making money. And we'll do extra episodes for you a week. We'll do an extra 30 minutes, and we'll do, some incentives with it too. It will be not just this type of podcast. Maybe Mark will be on. We'll have Mark has a camera on it. No, he doesn't want that. Okay. Maybe it's with a guest. There's a guest for a half hour for those Patreon episodes. Maybe that's something. Like I'll just have a guy here. I'll have that crazy guy Brian from my vlog.
Crazy guy.
This young crazy guy who is jacked and stuff. I think he's just funny energy. I could have him in the corner. But I don't know. But if you guys are listening, we do have a Patreon. There's a few subscribers. If we get to 10, we'll start doing Patreon episodes, which will be fun for us. And, subscribe, and comment on YouTube. If you're listening, leave a 5-star review. And, you guys can always DM Life with Lenoci podcast with your problems and we'll talk about them because this is a safe place. And I'm not saying we're licensed therapists, but we sure as hell feel like it. We sure as hell feel like it. And we feel like we can manage our emotions. And again, I'm going to come back in here in 4 weeks and be like, she was very honest with me. And she was like, we don't really need to go past 4 meetings. You are cured. What is there a cure with therapy, or do you just do it because it's like working out? There's no do therapists one day go, you know what, we're kind of just wasting your money right now, we should just be friends, or let's break off from this. I feel like you have a good understanding of your emotions and how to handle life and decisions, and there's nothing really has been traumatic in your life in the last few years. And I think that you could, you're good on your own. So it was good seeing you. Does that happen?
I think you're thinking of it in terms of a sickness. You're not going to find a cure, but rather think of it as like a skill. You're going to get tools. So you know how to fix something. So don't think of it as a cure. So sometimes you might be given the tools you need to be able to function the way you should.
Yes, I understand that. But so would a therapist, if you're willing to pay and go, ever say, we don't need to be doing this anymore?
Absolutely.
So they would.
Yeah.
But what if you're like, I don't want to, I like this, and this is part of my life? Then they're going to be like, well, fine, I'll take the money.
The other object is there's cases that they'll straight up be like, I can't really do much for you.
Yeah, but sometimes people just want someone to talk to. Right? And I guess that's what you do. Do you do any other solo podcasts with anyone? Or is it just like guest driven?
It's just you.
So you look forward to this podcast out of all of them. Look, we're asking him a sweet, nice, and he can't do it.
No. Hold on.
It's therapeutic for you.
I enjoy the podcast because it amuses me.
No.
Yes.
See, this is a problem. When you have a kid and he's like, Daddy, do you love me? You're going to be like, I show you that I care by my actions. That's the kind of dad you're going to be. You're like, your son's going to be like, Dad, I love you. And he's going to be like, didn't I just get you a bike? Okay, now go hug your mom and give her a kiss. And if you need that affirmation, she'll give it to you. Don't talk to me about your feelings. That's how you're going to be.
No, well, here's the thing is I don't quite know, but I saw that from my father and his father.
You never heard your dad say, I love you?
A few times.
Yeah, maybe same here. Maybe my dad was like this. Yeah, I love you.
Like, I know he cares. I know
he
does.
They just feel
but
weird saying it.
It's those words. Like, I was thinking about it when you were talking about your dad. I was like, have I ever had like a big deep hug with my father? Like I think we've done like the small hug. Like when you're like getting on the airplane type thing.
Ever hug goodbye, but you know,
Have you ever hugged your dad like you hug your mom? I
I
think that's
mean,
the best way to put it.
there definitely has been a moment. I know I've made my dad cry with my words in a card
Okay.
later on in his life. This is after I've lived in LA. I think with age, my dad has become calmer and more vulnerable and more open. And you know, that was not there in his 40s and 50s, but his late 60s and his last 10 years, he's grown the most, which is funny because it's like it took you 60, 65 years to really figure it out, but so you always evolve, which is funny because then sometimes you were in a world where there will be like a 75 or 80-year-old guy and you're like, well, that's just the way they are, they're not going to change, they're racist, or they're not, it's not part of the generation, you know what I mean? Like when you say like you meet an 80-year-old who's like says something ignorant, you're like, well, that's how they grew up, they can't evolve. That's actually not an excuse. I used to think that was, or like what was that show where they would all fish? The old guys in the South in New Orleans, and it was on one of those shows, and one of them said the N word, maybe. Duck Hunt, Duck Dynasty,
Oh,
right?
never watched it.
Me either, but you knew about it. It was very
Yeah,
popular.
yeah, yeah.
And when it was getting very popular, one of the older guys who was in his 70s said something racist, right? And people were like, well, what are we going to cancel him? He's 70. That's the world he lived in. He's from the South. Of course, he's it doesn't mean that he should be well aware enough to evolve. And my dad's definitely evolved. So I guess that's not something that I always thought that was a good excuse, was saying, well, that's how people were. You know what I mean? Um, but I guess that's not a good excuse. But yeah, so my dad, I've seen him cry a lot more in the last 10 years than I don't think I've ever seen him cry really. Maybe when his parents died when I was college briefly, but it was like, he didn't like sit there and cry in front of all of us and talk about it.
I've seen mine cry once. And that was when his father died. That was devastating to see.
But why?
Just seeing my dad cry.
Because we grew up in a culture where we think that's supposed to be tough and you don't do that.
Well, let me ask you this. So, because I see this and my wife thinks I'm absolutely deranged. So, like, I was raised like not cry, like toughen through things. So, like, I break a toe on the like, the corner of the bed. Like,
yeah,
I'm laughing hysterically. I don't cry.
Well,
like break a finger, laugh hysterically. That's my coping mechanism.
Okay, well that's some deeper rooted issues.
But that is something I know for a fact. I see my dad, like when my dad lost a finger on a table saw.
Yeah.
Like laughing uncontrollably.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like if that happened to us, we'd be swearing and yelling. Yeah. Maybe not cry, but I'd be like, F this, god damn it. Like yelling. It would just be yelling. Now, there are times when, remember we used to do the takeover show with the guest and we would try to read those stories. I would sometimes read these stories with Haley and these emotional stories, and I would get choked up and I would uncontrollably laugh, and then she would laugh too, but I would laugh. I just think it's funny that it's not that I'm doing it as a defense mechanism, but like when, like, let's say if I watched a movie with her and it was like a heartwarming movie with love, it's okay. I got it. I can hear it too. He gets mad when I touch this.
You get annoyed by the smallest little things.
Yeah, so that's why I'm going to therapy. It's a minor sound difference.
Because who are you going to blame, me or you?
No, I'll just be like, oh, that's from me touching the mic. And then like the people listening could deal with it. All right. Anyways, that's why I'm going to therapy. Now, my point is, I don't laugh because I'm afraid to cry, because I'll cry too. And I'll see her cry. Like we went and saw a movie, or maybe, we're hanging out and we watching a movie and something happens, and it could be love. It doesn't have to be sad, and you cry. I think it's funny that something can get that emotion out of you. That I'm laughing at that. I'm not laughing because I'm like, oh, I can't handle crying. Does that make sense? I think sometimes people think like, now in your situation, you're like laughing to cope with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fascinating and funny that something can do that. That there's stuff out there that can get a rise out of you that's not personal. Maybe that's what it is. You know what I mean? If it's not personal, like sure, if you get married or you see the birth of your son, or then, or sad things, your parents die or something, you're going to cry, and that's understandable across the board. But when you're like watching a movie, or like, if the Dolphins won a Super Bowl, like I probably would cry, but I would be laughing that I'm crying, that got me to cry. That I think is kind of funny.
So if the Dolphins won the Super Bowl, you believe you would cry?
I think so. I'd be very emotional. I mean, I've put in so much emotion into it. I mean, if I had to be honest, that's my longest relationship.
Okay.
My longest is football, then comedy, then Haley.
So
and a dog.
If you're standing at the altar,
yes,
you're gonna cry.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I could definitely cry when you do that first dance part. The first, or maybe your last dance with your mom. Did you dance with your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of emotional. Like that would be more emotional because my mom's sick, and if I got to make it to that moment, I could be like, okay, well, I gave you this. So that I would for sure cry. I'd be like, hey, look, one of the things we were filling out, let me go into this. I was filling out, it's BetterHelp, which, we should get the sponsor for them on the podcast. But BetterHelp, you're filling out the survey.
Is that the online one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have the app. You're filling it out, and it's like, do you have trauma? And I go, yes, of course. In the last couple of years, that was a trauma thing. And then there was a point. There was a question. Do you feel the pressure or something like that about making your family proud? And I don't think I do. But I was with a few people filling this out, and Haley was like, yeah, you do. And I was like, I don't think so. And I just thought that was weird that she thought that I do.
I think you do a little bit, because I know when we started, you were like, my mom listens to this. It's got to be right. It's got to be like,
huh.
And then you also, like, I don't think you've ever mentioned your dad listening to it, but you.
Oh, there's no way he really. I think on the phone he'll see like an Instagram clip of stand up or something. There's no way he's listening to any podcast. It's just like not. He's not in that world. He's still watching documentaries on TV, but I don't know what he does. I think he just kind of like. I was thinking about this the other day too. I was like, why doesn't like, is it my job to pick up the phone and call him? Like, I want to talk to Dad. And I would during football season, right? That's where we'll connect. I'll be like, I know you're not watching or you didn't see the game because they're not airing the Dolphins where you are. But I'm like, oh, this was a good game, blah, 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 right? But when I call, I talk to my mom 98% of the time. But how come he never picks up the phone and is just like, hey, how are things going? I started thinking about that more. I was like, well, that's kind of, weird. But I know he's proud and he's like happy, but he probably thinks that I don't want to talk to him, maybe. Or maybe. I don't know. It's interesting, right? Does your dad call you?
He butt dials me a lot.
Well, that's so dumb.
Well,
sorry.
Well, my last name's at the top of the list. Yeah, no, he's called me a few times, but it's always that like ask me a question. But,
yes,
but
it's always my same here. My dad will ask a question, or it'll be like about like, hey, did you see there's like this tax break thing, like something like that, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks, man. All right, how's everything else? Good. You? Yeah, good. All right, talk to you later. That's it.
Well, I think that generation and like, just men in general, like they typically, unless things are burning down in the village next door, they're not going to like saddle up the donkey and head up to the hill to see what's going on.
Interesting saying there. Is that a thing you learned?
Whereas girls are like hypercomputers and they want to know every emotion, what's going on, all the things.
Yeah, I mean,
And then
sure as hell made my mom cry today.
Men are third world country where we're like, saddle up the donkey. I'm hearing explosions over there. All right. Yeah, it doesn't deal with us. All right, we're good.
Yeah. Interesting. But if he called, I would just, I'd probably be like, what's up? And he was like, nothing, just want to check on you. Maybe I would get emotional, like, he's growing. He's growing as a person. Wow. I've had 2 notes on the bottom that just keep getting pushed down that I've never talked about for weeks. And I'm not even going to go to those because I got rid of all these other notes. One was the last payphones.
Oh, that just got taken away from New York?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Man. Payphones. I just was like, oh, wow, there's no, like, I walked by one the other day, but like, that's just like not a thing at all. When it was such an important part of our lives in our generation. Like, I mean, from calling these 1-800 numbers to like hear something silly. There was a whole world of that. Like, call 1-800 this, and it will be like a clown talking. And it was like, who's doing this? Like, there were so many random ones. There was like prank ones you could call. Then there was like 411. Hey, can I call? And you charge the account. I need to call someone if you didn't have change. That came on later.
I remember calling people collect. Like, before I had a cell phone, it was kind of like, I need to get home.
Yeah, do you accept the charge if you didn't have change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you call.
Or like, collect. Do you remember like "We Oughta Baby It's a Boy" commercial?
No.
Where they called and they're like, call from "We Oughta Baby It's a Boy."
Oh, like when that was a great. Yeah. That was the best. That everybody knew. Can you pick me up at this time, Ben?
Yeah.
We all you had the trick
once at Mall 4 O'clock.
Yeah, that was funny, man. We all were rigging it, and they knew.
Do you accept the charges? Absolutely not.
No, we don't. And then there was still the answering machines, which is crazy, and setting up your family answering machine. Hi. Thank you for calling the Lenoci residence. It always had to be formal. It was so stupid. Like my answering machine, I remember like my dad probably didn't. I think he did it. He cared a little bit, but then my sister was doing it one time, and we would just, hi, thank you for calling the Lenoci residence. Sorry we are unable to come to the phone right now, but please leave your name, number, and a short message, and we'll get back to you. Bye, guys. Bye. It would just be like a family. Like,
there's still people that do the stupid trick message, like Craig's. I hate Craig's.
I don't think he has that anymore.
Message.
Yeah.
Well, like he used to speak like a second and then just be like message, and it was just like you felt like you got him for a second. You were like,
well, yeah.
The people who do that, just like, I don't even think my phone. Well,
there was a time when when you first had it on your cell phone, and your message would be like, "Hey, what's up?" Huh? No, yeah, I can't hear you. Dude, speak up. All right. Well, you know what? Just kidding, man. Leave a message.
Oh, I hated those.
But when they worked, you're like, that was like early 2000s.
That was a good way to hang up after that.
But the family answering machines was definitely, that was funny. Just like, I mean, that created fights probably. Resetting it, doing it. Hi, guys.
You're not doing it right.
Thank you for calling. Hi, guys. Or it would be like, there were so many things you had to do, and it was formula. Thank you for calling the Lenoci residence at 954-344-9468. That was my phone number. 344-9468.
Is that your family's current phone number?
No, of course not.
I was like, did you just dox your family?
No. I remember all my, okay, that was mine. My neighbor Michael, 752-3462. Chris's down the street was 755-5691. Kyle's 345-5391. I can't really remember much. Paul's 7575.
Isn't it weird that you've compartmentalized those numbers? Because I have the same numbers in my head of like friends that I used to call, like, "Hey, you want to go hang out?"
Because you would call them every day,
all the time.
So you remember those numbers forever for the most part. 752-3462, 752-5691, and then 345-5301.
All right, a beautiful mind. That's enough numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. That was just kind of, I kind of have a bit about payphones that I don't do a lot, that I've been doing for years trying to figure out, and one day I will get it done. It's about being in the 90s.
Think about all the tropes in movies that are gone now.
What does that mean?
So, like, they're consistent use things. Like for example, the trope of, like, stepping into a phone booth and, like, coming out and dressed differently, or being trapped in a phone. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah.
Like, can you imagine, like, there was that movie Phone Booth?
Yeah.
Literally a decade and a half ago. He was
the bad guy, right? The sniper?
Oh, was he?
He was the voice.
Oh, okay.
Because you didn't know, right?
Well, I was
Ethan
thinking
Hawke
about
is 24, right?
Is 24.
From the TV show 24?
I know. I'm talking about the one with Colin Farrell, Phone Booth.
Yeah, but who's from the TV show 24?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the lead in that?
God, he's a famous drunk. What's his name?
Is it not Ethan Hawke?
No, it's Kiefer Sutherland.
He's the voice in Phone Booth with calling, right? Because you remember it's a terrorist, like, calling.
Yeah.
He's the voice. That's who it was. What was it called? Phone Booth?
Yeah. It's a high concept title.
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland. Why did I think Ethan Hawke?
Because Ethan Hawke is in absolutely everything right now.
That's because he's on a telephone movie, The Black Phone.
Yeah,
that looks good.
There's literally a 100-foot billboard right behind you.
That looks really good. And I'm not a scary movie guy. This one kind of looks kind of interesting, and he's the lead in it. Yeah, but I mean, I think this is episode 12. We didn't even do the 11-1 run. I mean, this was a good win. This is my favorite episode by far. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and comment, like, subscribe, 5-star review, check out the Patreon. We appreciate you guys. The music's in. We got to go. Thank you guys.